I'm going to weave a story about Jodhaiya Bai Baiga. Because she was my friend for a number of years, and I want to just give you the background of her. Some of you may know it, some of you may not. It's a remarkable success story from rags to riches, from the village to Rashtrapati Bhavan. I mean, she saw it all. It starts with a contemporary artist named Ashish Swami. Ashish Swami he lived in Mumbai. He's from Madhya Pradesh, from Umaria. He lived in Mumbai for a long time, but never made it big as an artist. He's a good artist, but he never hit the big time. So when he was in his, I think, late 60s, he decided to go back to Umaria and set up a studio for tribal girls and women. So he had a bit of land, he built a studio, and in the construction of the studio, he invited Jodhaiya Bai to come to create the mud floors. So she was making the cow dung mud floors, and he said to her, do you paint? And she said, I don't know. So he said, well, let's try. So he gave her paper, pens, brushes, pigments, and there was no looking back. He immediately recognized that she was a wonderful talent. He saw that, and he kept encouraging her. He taught her how to mix colors. He taught her how to work with papier-mâché and clay, and slowly she developed. And then other artists, other young girls, and her cousins and family came, and he started training them. And then as she developed, he got her an exhibition at the Alliance Française in Bhopal. Then there was a show in Milan. That was two shows she did. And then it's a very nice story because, as some of you may know, my wife and I had collected the works of Jangar Singh Sham, the great, who I consider to be the greatest tribal artist India has ever produced. We had about 180 of his works. And for 20 years, he would come to our house in Delhi and bring his paintings, and we would sit on the floor, and we would select the paintings. And Ashish Swami would come with him sometimes to guide him and help him and translate if he needed it. So I knew Ashish from way back. Now, a little bit forward, about 10 years ago, I began to see Jodhaiya Bai's paintings in the Delhi market. Small drawings, maybe at what's it called? Delhi Hut, and at Crafts Museum. And I liked her work very much. So I couldn't find her, and I didn't know where she was from. So I called the tribal office in Bhopal, and they said that she lives in Umaria, which is in eastern Madhya Pradesh, and she works with Ashish Swami. So I thought, oh well, I know Ashish, so I called him, and then we planned to go to Umaria, and this was about COVID time, and tragically Ashish contracted COVID and he passed away. So after he passed away, we had been working together for about 2 years, and the paintings were getting more and more powerful, really wonderful paintings. So I was really, I said, we can't stop her working, and the studio, it's too important. So Ashish Swami's nephew, who's named Nimish Swami, who studied electrical engineering and is a bodybuilder trainer type, I went to Umaria and I said, are you willing to take over the studio? He said, I don't know anything about art, but I love my uncle and I think we have to keep his legacy going. So since then, that's about, I don't know, let's see, that's about 8 or 9 years ago. And so we've been working together. And then I told him, this woman is a remarkable artist. We've got to get her the Padma Shri. So we started campaigning for the Padma Shri. You know, everybody said, "Did you pay any money?" I said, "No, not a penny." Anyway, we got it without any money paid, no bribe. And and she came. She's about 5'2", and very feisty, very independent, very Bernard, very culturally secure. She knows who she is from the beginning. She knew who she was, and she knew she had talent, and she showed it. So she met the Prime Minister, she met Modi ji, and she told him, "I live in a kacha house, and I want you to build me a pakka house." And he said, "Ho jayega." So she goes back to Umaria, and she tells Nimish, "I want to meet the district collector." And he said, "Why?" He said, "Because the district collector is the one who builds the houses." So the district collector was Nimish's friend. So they went, and she sits there and she says, "I just came from Delhi, and the Prime Minister said he would build me a house, and you're the one who builds the houses, so you do it." So the district collector told my friend, he said, "Who does she think she is? Who is this woman talking to me like that, this tribal woman?" So Nimish said to him, if you're intelligent, you will build it, and quickly. And he didn't. So she called up NDTV, and before you know it, there was a camera crew in Umaria. The Prime Minister told me he was going to build me a house, and he hasn't done it. So suddenly there was a telephone call from Shivraj Chauhan, who was the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, and said, "We're building the house, shut her up. Stop her from talking on the news." So she got her house. So then in 2022, she received the Nari Shakti Puraskar Award for women, and then in 2023, she got the Padma Shri. And in 2024, she's passed away, which is very, very sad. She's left a wonderful legacy. Her children or grandchildren are painting. There are lots of other Baiga artists that painted. She started there are several Baiga branches of the Baiga tribe. They're in Chhattisgarh, also in other parts of Madhya Pradesh. But her branch that no one had painted before. She was the first one. But now there's a tradition, you know, and it's being carried on by Nimish. So, and then what's wonderful is Anubhav has done this fantastic show, given her a solo show, which is wonderful. And I think that now people begin to recognize. One of the problems with tribal art is that there are a lot of, as Anubhav knows, there's a lot of fakes. So you have to be very, very careful about the fake. Whenever the tribal artist becomes popular, then the fakes start coming. So you have to recognize through the style and also the date and the titles of things. And so that's one of the problems with her legacy, to keep her reputation intact. But all of these paintings, I think all came from, some from you, or they're all from you and Nimish also?
From the Ashish Swami Center in New York.
Yeah, from my collection or from Nimish collection. So everything is 100% okay. Okay. So now that's the kind of background, you know, of her kind of quick summary of her life story. If you have any questions, let me know, and then we'll move to each room, and I'll talk a little bit about the paintings, you know, about her, what she did. So any questions? And what I neglected to say was, she was born in the late 30s, and until she was 65, she was a daily laborer. She carried bricks on her head, you know. And then imagine from 65 till the day she passed away, her whole life was transformed through art. And she was a great, like Jangar Singh Sham, she was a great talent. I mean, she had it inside her. And she could, I remember one day she told me, she said, I think I can paint big. because she was doing small. I said, do you think I can? And I said, I've been waiting for you to say that, so here's the paper, here's the canvas. And then she never looked back. She started painting big. And she was never intimidated. I can see her, she's never intimidated by a big canvas, she just started over in one corner and the whole thing evolved, She was a great talent, she really was. I mean, and it was very, Ashish Swami was very, very ahead of his time to recognize such a talent, But he knew from almost the beginning, her first drawings, her first sketches, he knew, And I think that all of you, if you meet tribal artists or something, you can be encouraged to check, to see if somebody has talent, and then encourage them by their art. Somebody asked me about a year ago, they said, are you an artist? I said, no, I'm not artistic at all. I have one talent. And they said, what is that? I said, you put me in a room with 50 tribal artists, I can tell you which one is going to get the Padma Shri. And I can also know how to work with them and get the creativity out of them. So he was quiet for a minute, and he said very quietly, he said, that's not a small talent. So I said, well, big or small, that's my main talent. And I love that. I love working with the artists, and I love seeing them evolve. And now, from a small village hut in Umaria to Rashtrapati Bhavan, that's a big deal. That's really something, that kind of mobility is.
As we all know, Mitch is super talented, and that's
No,
how
Baba,
he recognizes these talents and has brought them out into mainstream for more than 5 decades now. And I can't thank Mitch enough for his mentorship, guidance, friendship, and all of those lovely things.
Well, today's turning into a mutual admiration society, but I also want to say that I've been watching over the years the galleries that come up in Delhi, folk and tribal art and everything, and finally he came. And he's the one. He has a vision for folk and tribal art. I mean, today we have 2 of India's greatest artists, the Vaida brothers, Mayur and Tushar. They are just absolutely brilliant. You've taken the tradition into another direction, and yet you've kept in touch with your roots, which is very hard to do. When I look at your work, even if it's a cityscape, it's a drawing of the skyline of Delhi, I can still see the village. I can see Jivya Soma. I can see all that traditions, but still alive. And you have to adapt it. You have to contemporize it. You cannot just keep doing the same thing over and over. But you kept your roots, and the integrity of your tradition, which is wonderful. And Jodhaiya Bai did the same. Jangar did the same. There are certain artists, Buri Bai, there are certain artists who have the ability to do that. Yeah. On the right side, you see she loved nature, and she lived in what she called an enchanted forest. For her, it was full of magic. And this is I think this is Mahua tree, no? This one, Mahua. Yeah. This is the Mahua tree. And all of the trees that she painted, they had the goddess, the Mahua Devi, is down at the bottom, at the base of the tree. And this is a special tree because when it's in flower, they collect the Mahua flowers and they make a deshi sharab. They make a country liquor out of it. And they enjoy country liquor. She asked me, she said, I have a peg or 2 of rum every day. Is that okay? I said, I think that's fine, but not too much. And she loved to drink. But her trees, there's Palash tree and Mahua tree and other trees. They were especially wonderful, always inhabited with green parakeets and other birds. And do you have a picture do you have a burning of Bandhavgarh here or not?
Yeah, in the middle.
Okay, we'll go there. And she was very attached to the forest. They lived in the forest. I mean, they've now been settled by the government. They don't wander and they're not nomadic the way they used to be. And then this room you have different aspects of ritual life. You have the bars of the gods, the worship of the gods, and also you have this was an early one. Now above, this is early, I think.
Right, this was an early work.
This is early work. This is the tiger god Bagesur, and it's a very powerful. That's what her work looked like in the beginning. It had that wonderful level of abstraction.
That you were talking about Umaria feeling like Sita, Ram, Lakshman walking.
Yes.
And that's the Ramayana.
She draws a lot of inspiration from Ramayana and Sita, Ram, and Hanuman. And then I love this Bholenath over there with the wonderful curly hair. Yeah. Or that's not. Maybe that's Narad. Is that Narad?
So there's
maybe Narad.
It's Narad, but you weren't classified as Bholenath.
Narad Muni, right. And then Ganesha up above. And so this one is more the ritual, the ritual life, and any great artists like Jivya and Jungar and whatever, they may repeat a theme, but they don't repeat themselves. It's all, everyone is original and fresh. And she especially loved painting the gods and goddesses. I remember very much so, and then Ramrati, the artist that I like very much, she paints the Devi Matas, and what's interesting, she and her husband very religious. At the Mela for the Devi Mata, for different Devi Matas, he dresses up like the Devi Mata. He wears the costume of a woman, and she plays an instrument, and they dance together. So I mean, it's still alive. When you go there, it's still alive, the traditions. Very, very, very important. And that's what they draw from, and I encourage them to draw from. Now, sometimes they do contemporary themes. We'll go to the next room, and I'll explain one of the themes that's very important. So, any other questions from this room? And here's a nice picture of her with the president. She got, I think that was that Padma Shri or Nari Padma Shri? Yeah.
It was the President Ramnath Kovind gave her the Nari Shakti Award, and the following year.
And then she got the Padma.
The Padma Shri, and that's a picture of her.
This is her on the ground in the studio in Umaria.
Yeah. And that's Ashish ji with her, and that's Jhulan Bai, one of her friends, who was also part of the studio.
Yes. She was the diva. She was the great force, cultural force of the studio. But she always shared. Whenever others were painting, she would encourage them. She would, say that, do it like this a little bit. I mean, she was generous in her working with others. Which is nice. Which is very nice. Anything else? Anybody?
I think we can go back to the central room.
We go in the goddesses of the Baiga pantheon, because they were important to her. She's very very religious, and there's been a lot of research on the Baigas. A lot of anthropologists and people, very famous ones, have studied the Baigas, and they have their own tribal gods and goddesses. Which they worship, which are totally different from the mainstream classical Hindu gods and goddesses. They worship the goddess of the ghat, of the steps, the goddess of the chat, of the roof, even the goddess of the corner of the house, the door, all of these things, So, but she's especially devoted to Lord Bholenath, which is the tribal incarnation of Lord Shiva. Very powerful. He's the grand god. And she started with little tiny paintings like these. I remember in the early days, they were this size. And then she gradually expanded into larger ones. Normally they have two devotees, two attendants on each side, and also the serpent and the Sheshnag, multi-headed serpent comes. And the other nice thing about her was she was very interested in healing, and so once I asked is there a kind of a shaman? Is there a, I don't know, say witch doctor? Is there a healer? Is there a traditional healer in the tribe? But she said yes, and her tribe is the Baiga, and the woman who takes that role is called the Baigan. So the Baigan, which sounds like something out of Harry Potter, you know, the Baigan. So the Dr. Romola Topper, who is my oldest, Bernard's also old friend, the world's greatest ancient Indian historian. She said, I want to go and meet the Baigan because she must touch the earliest traditions of India, you know, the roots of Indian civilization. So we fly to Jabalpur and we drive 5 hours and we get to Umaria, and then here's these two grand old ladies, the Baigan and Jodhaiya Bai, sitting together. And they start singing songs. And then Romola had a long talk with the Baigan and said, do you have power? She said, I have a lot of power. And I can heal and I can do magic and she looked like it. She looked like a friendly witch. You know, she was really something. So what Romola said, I'm so astounded that the roots of these traditions are still so alive and well today, and I'm going to encourage some students to start studying that for their master's or doctoral degrees. So this room is filled with serpents and filled with Bolinath dancing. She's done some huge, these are large, but she's done even larger painting than this. And also if you see her signature in the lower right-hand corner, she was illiterate, but she took the Trishul, which is the trident, which is, of course, Lord Shiva's icon, and then she put the letter J for Jodhaiya. So that became her signature, you know. A lot of them are illiterate, and there's another artist named Ramrati Bai who's very, very talented. I think she's the next most talented of that group. And she took a swastika. That's her symbol. So those two papier-mâché squares are wonderful. The one on the right is exceptional with the Sheshnag. Look at the coiling of the snake and the multi-headed snake. It's wonderful, wonderful. And she also makes the panel herself, and she carves out the raised images, and then she paints. So she does the whole thing, and they're very, very rare. They're wonderful. They're really wonderful. Anything else? Anybody else?
So approximately when was it, Mitch, that she started putting the J? And how did that happen? Like, did we?
Well,
did you talk to her about it, or Ashish?
Was it with? I think Ashish and I were having conversations, and I said, "Look, she has to sign, and she must sign, and she has to put on the back the date and the title of the painting." I did the same thing with Jangar Singh when I first met him. In the late 70s, he was not signing. So I said, Jangar, you have to sign, you have to date, and you have to put a title. And then I discovered he was doing wonderful trees and wonderful birds. Then I discovered that it's not just a tree. It's a specific tree, a specific bird. You know, he was not just, you know, he was looking at his enchanted forest, and he was doing specific trees. So I think it came at Ashish's time, probably just,
right.
I don't know, maybe early 2020 or something.
And because if I recollect correctly.
Because the early ones, I don't know if they...
Right, the works which were in the heart.
They weren't signed.
Were
they signed?
No.
I don't think so, yeah. I told him she has to sign. So he said, well, she doesn't, she's illiterate, but I said, come up with a logo that suits her, which is, of course, wonderful. That's a wonderful logo. With it's very beautiful in itself, and then the ja and the Trishul are very.
At the center, I want to say it's because of the artist not being necessarily educated or being able to read and write, but paint wonderfully. they come up with symbols, like you said, Ramrati has the swastik.
Yes, it was.
And also Jhulan Bai, she has that little flag.
Oh yeah, she had a dhwaja, the
Dhwaja,
flag,
right,
yeah,
the
which
flag.
is wonderful. She's passed away. Yeah, they were, many of them never had an education, but they're immensely talented. And I encourage you all to go one day to Umaria. It's near Bandhavgarh National Forest, the Tiger Sanctuary, and it's worth going.
Yeah. It's about an hour and a half away from Bandhavgarh.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's conveniently located and we can fly into...
Yeah, you fly to Jabalpur and then there's a nice drive through the mountains, which is wonderful. It's Ramayan country. You close your eyes and you can see Ram, Sita, and Hanuman going through the mountains. It's really beautiful. It's really a wonderful part of the country, and very, very interesting. The people are very small. And as Sadnam told me, he said, Sahab, even the cows are miniature cows, everything is small,
And teacup also very small.
Even the teacups, everything is small. Okay, anything else about the Pantheon?
This kind of course, signing is also an identification of the individual artist. And of course, in this context, you mentioned it, fake art is somewhere always nearby, and it's easy to fake it. It's easy to fake the signature. It's easy to fake.
The signature helps and date helps and everything, but now there are three people that I consider. There's me and Dr. Oragita Das in London, who's the expert on Jangar Singh, and then one of the tribal artists I consider very strong. So I get sent every week. I get sent paintings to authenticate. So recently I got 3 paintings, and they were dated in different years, like 1991, 1997, 2000. And the signature, Jangar's signature was there, and they were absolutely identical. If you take the 3 signatures and put them on top of each other, they're exactly the same. So they've learned how to copy the signature perfectly.
So none of them were authentic?
None of them were authentic.
So in that sense, one has to kind of rethink also the concept of the individual artist, of originality, and question whether that,
Well,
the
you-
new model of art and recognition
But-
that needs to be there. And
Exactly.
Our commercial, kind
Well, it's her reputation is at stake. Their legacy is. Well, you have the same thing in modern, contemporary and modern art. I mean, there are Tayyab Mehta fakes, there are Swaminathan fakes, there, But the big.
Miniature art is the same thing. I mean, there's
Yes.
so much talent
No,
in
no.
the fakes also.
Yeah. Well, I've met the fakers sometimes, and I said, "You're really talented. Stop faking and do your own work."
Yeah.
But
your own signature in the same.
yes, it was. Yeah, it was. There was an artist in Jaipur. His name Sheikh Usman Tirandaz, wonderful artist in the Mughal tradition, and I was buying his paintings. He did huge black bears, wonderful, and I was trying to find him. I couldn't find him in Jaipur, and because people were selling me his paintings, but nobody would introduce me to him because they wanted to sell me. So I went in the market and I sat down at a table with people and I put 10,000, I still remember, 10,000 rupees on the table in a bundle. I said, the first one of you that introduces me to Sheikh Usman can have this money. One man grabbed it in half a second. I said, okay. He said, he's standing over there. So I met Usman and I said, Usman, I'm buying your bears. He said, oh, you're the one who's buying my bears? I said, yes. He said, I can paint in 19th century style, 18th century style, and 17th century style, and I can put a seal on it from the 19th, 18th, 17th. Usman, stop. I want you to sign the paintings and you put the date. And he started to cry. I'll never forget. He said, you mean you want to tell people that I'm alive? I said, yes. And from that day, he started signing his paintings and dating them. And he's a great artist. He just passed away. So the step of signing and dating, and because you take them out of the world of anonymous world, they become a person. And you know, tribal folk and tribal artists are not. Forget these labels, this Adivasi and indigenous and whatever. You're a great artist in your own right. You come from a tribal tradition, but you're a major contemporary artist. Very important. These are the two behind you, Bernard. Have you seen their work? It's magnificent. Really, they're fabulous. They're fabulous. Okay. Anything else?
I have a question. Do they conceptualize what they're going to paint before they start, or just flows as they paint?
We never, Nimish and I, we just say, what would you like to paint? We don't tell them what to paint, and she does conceptualize. There is she does a pencil drawing to just chart out the shape. Now there's an art. I have a very nice exhibition on. It's only open till tomorrow if you come. And there's a wonderful artist from Jaipur who does huge paintings, and he's the only artist I've ever met who doesn't do that. It's a 20-foot long painting, and there's a image of a god at this end. He starts there and he starts painting, and it's all in his head. He doesn't do any sketches at all. So she does a sketch, a rough sketch.
There's a preparatory drawing.
Sorry?
But there is a preparatory.
It's like a line drawing, just to make sure the head fits at the top and the bottom. I mean, it's just to put it in proportion. That's what she did, yeah. And she loved sitting outside in the garden. I can still see her sitting outside in the garden, painting. And she has her own color combinations. A lot of orange, yellows, blues. She knew what colors she wanted. And when she painted something strong, she knew it. She would tell you, I remember she would tell me that this is a good painting, Sab. And I said, yes, I miss her. I miss her a lot. She was very special, Okay, next. Anything else? There were people who they would set fires in the forest. And then when the forest land is burned down, then they would sell it cheap. So she was deeply affected by this because so many animals died, so many beautiful trees. So she did a series of paintings we called it the Burning of Bandhavgarh Forest. And they're very, very powerful. And you can see the eyes of the tiger, the eyes of the animals and the birds. They're traumatized by the fire because they're going to be consumed by the fire. And this is some of her. I think some of her greatest work was this series. I still have one that's about 13 feet long, very powerful painting. But and then here you see this one is on the cover of the invitation. This is also Bageswar. I love the interior body was filled with different scenes from the village. Sometimes you have animal within animal. You have the baby tiger within the mother tiger, and this one I'm fascinated by this one because I had not seen that kind of. It's very complex for her. Did it have a name, Anubhav?
Yes, there is a title.
And it's
Bageswar.
Is that? But that yellow figure in the middle, that looks like a god. It's
inside the Bageswar.
Inside the Bageswar, But it's very complicated. It's a very interesting. This is probably the direction she was heading in when she passed away. She had a stroke. And she became paralyzed on the left side of her body, and she was left-handed, and so she couldn't paint. She couldn't paint anymore. But this must be one of the latest paintings. Really wonderful, wonderful painting, and that dark blue is an unusual color for her. I like that painting. I really like that painting very much.
I actually was quite
quite intrigued by the fact that I couldn't make out what it was to begin with.
Uh-huh. Yes.
There is a whole tail which is like a serpent.
Yeah, well, she's made the Bageshwar tail as a serpent, you know. So it's unusual for her to have the tree on the left connected to the design. So it becomes a very complex.
The form is there, but it's not.
Yeah. No, this is a magnificent. Did you sell this?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This is it's 2009 from 2019.
Oh well,
Baradev-
not so well. Not.
Baradev और बागेश्वर का पूजा करते बैगा आदिवासी.
Okay. Now this is bringing in these are the tribals that are worshiping it's a wonderful painting. Yeah, it's a wonderful. And then the one at the back behind you all, that's a wonderful tree, wonderful view of the enchanted forest with the trees and at the bottom the scorpion and the creatures that live in the tree. No, that's very symptomatic of her work. The ones to the right are also very interesting. That's a little different from those. Is that on canvas or?
Those two small ones, those are on canvas. These two are on canvas.
Yeah.
And this is a very early work on paper, on cardboard.
Oh, that's on cardboard.
This one and the one on the other side.
And then on the right, she did a series of peacocks. That's a wonderful peacock, very stylized peacock. She loved doing peacocks. You know, she was.
One over there as well.
Yeah, and then she did a series of serpents also. She would, that's a beautiful peacock, and she would do the porcupines and the bears and all of the creatures of the forest. They were very connected. The tribals are very connected to the forest, and as I said, she was deeply pained when they burned the Bandhavgarh forest. Yeah, no, as
a little bit about the dyes.
About
the painting, the color dyes. I mean, when she started,
the colors. Yeah, she used. Ashish felt that the best medium would be acrylic, so he taught her how to mix colors. She didn't know anything, and he was an artist, so he taught her how to mix colors, and then he gave her a range of colors to choose from, and then she after that she was fine. Then
these are all modern dyes.
Yeah. We tried a few early on, some stone ground pigments from the earth, the terracotta color from the earth, and white from tuna and things like that. It was very laborious for them to grind, and so they did a bit in the early days. But after that, they stuck with acrylic, and it was easy for them to work with, you know.
And the color of the canvas, if you see there.
And the back of the tiger, the yellow, the Bageshwar, is a cow dung. That's a cow dung wash. That she did that in a lot of her early work had that background.
But then she also tries her hand with different color of the canvas.
On the canvas, the background.
Yes.
The white and the background.
Yes. Yes.
This is creamy. There's a gray
We-
inside. Yeah.
For a long time, she worked mainly with on paper, but then she began to get canvas. You can get bigger size, you know, and she was equally good on both. Whereas Junger, I think Junger was better on paper than he was on. I encouraged him to do more paper than canvas. I know people like canvas, but he was just better on paper. I think he felt more comfortable on paper, you know.
What was her artistic lifespan? Like how many years did she paint?
She painted, I think she began painting about 60, when she was 65, and she died around 84, 83, 84. So that was all. That was very short time, you know. I mean, imagine for 65 years she did hard daily labor. You know, it was not easy life. And then her husband passed away.
She came back to her maternal home.
Yeah.
Umaria
she came from this village, Lora village, near Umaria. The district is called Umaria, and she lives near the district capital. That's where she was born. Then when she married, she went to the husband's village, which is not too far away. And when he passed away, she went back home to the village and raised her children. And it was very difficult because all she had was daily labor wages, you know. So meeting she was just really it was just a divine kind of meeting, you know, fabulous, fabulous. Changed her whole life.
So the village still has artists doing her work? Like
Yes, yeah, the studio is still going, and her daughter Rupa is there, and granddaughter is working, and other artists come. You know, he must have
I wanna
about.
say there are regularly about
He has
8 to
about
10 artists
10 or
for their-
11, 10 or 11
for-
artists are coming. Yeah, and anybody is welcome.
Yeah.
Anybody is welcome. And
In fact, at the opening, like the next day, we had about 5 of the artists from the center come see the show as well. So they were here to see the exhibition.
And which with your capabilities, have you earmarked another one who might be good enough to get a Padma Shri?
I've got 2 in mind.
Yes, okay.
2
You're
in
asking
mind.
for one, he's got 2.
I've got 2 in mind.
That's nice.
Wow.
One tribal artist who is
From this village.
no, he's from Chhattisgarh,
Okay.
and he's another tribal artist, the Mandavi tribe. His name is Pisadu Ram, and his cousin, I think Pandiram
They're
is
all
his.
connected.
They're all
connected,
married.
married through-
I mean, there's so many cousin brothers and cousin sisters that I get confused. But his cousin is Pandiram Mandavi, who just received the Padma Shri for his wood carving. And his son is a wonderful artist called Baldev Mandavi, who's going to get Padma Shri one day. He's still young. He went to art school, and now he got a master's degree. But his uncle is Pisadu Ram,
His grandfather.
grandfather. And I consider him, after Jungar, is the greatest artist I've worked with. He is incapable of doing a bad painting. Every painting is marvelous. He's really, really wonderful. But again, the tribals, they drink a lot. So I called up Nimesh and I said, what is Pisaduram doing? He said, he's drunk again. Give me 4 days and we'll get him started again. So you try to encourage it. You can't stop that, but life is hard. And he lives in an Naxalite area, so there's a lot of problems with the Naxalites. But he's wonderful. And then the show I have on now at Habitat, there's an artist from Jaipur who's an outsider artist, untrained, who's just brilliant. And I'm sure we're going to get him Padma Shri one of these days. So it's not the award, it's the recognition. And then, like when Jodhaiya Bai got the Padma Shri, then the whole tradition was elevated, and then everybody, other girls came and they said, if she can do it, I can do it. You know, I mean, it gives the respect that comes with the award is very important. Yeah. But what I loved when she met the Prime Minister, she wasn't afraid. You know, she stood up tall and not intimidated at all. There she is in the Rashtrapati Bhavan with all these people, but you know.
That's the way it should be. She's the one, she's his voter. So who we vote in, we must be able to talk to them.
Yeah.
And question them.
But I thought she would be shy or she would be intimidated. Not at all. Zero. I mean, that's why I say Punji, culturally secure. She knows who she is. You know?
But that is also true for a lot of tribal folk artists. They're
Yes.
culturally secure. They know, and they're rooted as well. I guess that's where.
But they come from a solid tradition.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they know they're very rooted. They're very deeply rooted, and they have a sense of their identity. And she had a great sense of her own talent, which was important. It's.
But it's still very surprising that jump from their way of expressing their tradition, which is probably oral or in terms of dance and so on, to kind of make that category shift into visual art.
Into art? Yes.
Normally, the common kind of,
Well, all of the.
one knows is that they have, they were painting their walls.
Yes, yes,
Which of course is not true
yes.
in this case.
Well, they did do. They went from walls and floors to paper and canvas. They did decorate their homes, and the floors. Yes, chuna, the rangoli and mandapa. They did all of these kind of things, and they often go from the floor and the walls to paper. Yeah, that's how they start.
Which when you go to the studio now, the school, and a lot of the women are encouraged by her. But is there independent thought, or is it all how they are encouraged by her and still imbibing her or under her umbrella?
I think she's still the umbrella over the whole thing, but Nimish, who's in charge of the studio, is very good at. I told him early on. I said, let them do whatever they want. Let them do what they want. And they're drawing. They're not. What's nice is they're not copying Jodhaiya Bai. They're doing their own thing, and each one has their own style. Each one seems to have their own individual style. So it's the legacies of Ashish is going on, and Jodhaiya Bai. It's good. It's good. And visitors from Bandhavgarh Fort, they come to the studio, and they get recognition from. Jodhaiya Bai is the only one from eastern Madhya Pradesh to get Padma Shri. So it's very. I met yesterday at the exhibition the head of the Bihar Museum, Mr. Singh, I think, and he very proudly said, "We have 15 Padma Shris in one area." I said, "That's very good. We have one, but she's a wonderful artist." So. But it makes a big difference. Yeah.
What about sculpture?
Well, the wood carving, fantastic. Really amazing wood carving in that area. Not in this village, but in Chhattisgarh especially. The one who just got the Padma Shri. He's a wonderful, wonderful artist. Yeah.
They don't use, work with terracotta. Is that the
There are terracotta artists. There's also a whole tradition called lipai, which is like finger painting with your, it's really finger painting. It's a hand. You use the whole hand. They're wonderful. Because your daughter got a painting like that. They're wonderful. There's so many traditions there's metal work. They're wonderful. The buster, the iron work is extraordinary. No, Madhya Pradesh has more tribals than any other state in India, and they're immensely talented. I want to do a show with Anubhav. In the 70s, Swaminathan, you're a great artist and scholar, anthropologist. He sent out teams of young people, some artists and some social activists, to go over the entire state of Madhya Pradesh. At that time, it was before Chhattisgarh was formed, and to find talent. They discovered Jangar Singh, they discovered Puri Bai, they discovered Ladu Bai, they discovered the Baigas. All these artists have become great masters from that time, And Swaminathan believed that there was talent in the indigenous artists, and he found it, and he encouraged it. I want to do an exhibition with Anubhav called Touched by Swaminathan, and we will try to pull together the work of all those original artists that he found, and then what happened to those families. Now, the grandchildren of those people are now painting. So he made a huge difference, and he really, when Swaminathan touched them, their lives changed, He did I remember him telling me he did an exhibition of the first big exhibition of their work, and he invited the Delhi modern artists from Delhi. And the modern artists came to Bharat Bhavan in Bhopal, and they said, we're showing in the same gallery with tribal artists. We won't do it. We won't show our work with tribal artists. So he said, then you can go home. You go back to Delhi. That was how it was in those days. They've come a long way. And once Jangar came to my house, and he had tea, and then he started crying. And I said, what's the matter? He said, last night I had an exhibition in Vasant Vihar, and I said, nice, congratulations. He said, no, I arrived. And the man said, take off your clothes and put on a loincloth and hold a spear. Because you're a tribal. We want to show people you're a tribal. So I got in the car with him, and I remember the guy. I'm big, and the guy was very small, but it doesn't matter. But I picked him up from the shoulder, and I pushed him against the wall. I said, if you ever do that to him again, I'll kill you. I mean, what nonsense, but I said, I'll kill you. Then I said, how much is the whole exhibition? He said, I think it was 10 lakhs. I said, I give you 10 lakhs, take them off the wall right now, and I'm taking every painting with me. So imagine, you have to. Even he did, Bernard, he did the Vidhan Sabha. He did the government buildings in Bhopal. He painted the walls of the with Charles Correa. Correa was very unpleasant with him. You want to put this tribal art on my walls? Imagine. So they've come a long way. They've come a long way. Yeah, the story needs to be told. You've got to. They struggled.
Yes.
They really struggled. They were not recognized. And in the beginning, when I was selling folk and tribal paintings, they would say, "It's a tribal. It's a tribal. What is a tribal painting?" I said, these are important artists. G.V.S. Soma's paintings in the beginning, they were not recognized, but then our Madhubani, Mithila painting, also not recognized. Then people began to, there were people like Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay and Bhupal Jayakar and all of these people they recognized early on, but there were not many. I remember I went to a dinner at the Canadian High Commission. The High Commissioner was a friend of mine. They had a huge painting of Sita Devi, about 10 feet tall. Sita Devi, one of the great Madhubani paintings. And at that dinner was Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, Nehru's sister. I was sitting next to her. She said, what is this junk on the wall? How can the High Commissioner have this? How can he put that on the wall? So I said, madam, she's a great artist. No, I don't see it. So, I mean, it took a long time to, change the mindset. And now people like Anubhav and Kiran Nadar, her museum, she's beginning to collect indigenous art. And it's going to make a big difference. It's a big difference. Times have changed. Times have changed. Times have changed.
I see it in my own career of the last 10, 12 years where I've been working in the indigenous arts, and the kind of interest and the kind of general awareness about it and people coming in is so different as it was when I started out.
Absolutely. I know.
This is my fifth or sixth participation at the India Art Fair in this time. So our booth is towards the end of the hall, and this year I just see such a difference. Like people are actually kind of looking for the platform section and coming there. Looking for the platform section. Like, oh, this is important. Who are the artists, etc.
Yes.
Lots of conversations with like mainstream collectors.
Absolutely. Because it's difficult, I have difficulty in walking such a big fair, so I didn't go, but I sent the people I work with, and I said, they came back and they said, Sahab, there's lots of tribal art.
Right.
I mean, not just you, but they said it's everywhere. I said, well, that's really wonderful. It's indigenous art, what do you want to call it? Tribal, folk, tantric, all this rooted traditions. It's the most exciting art in India today. Forget the contemporary artists. The really great art is what's happening with the. I mean, your art is magnificent, really wonderful, and they have something. You have and other artists. They have something called wall power. In America, I remember I had an artist I had a gallery in London, and it was Usman, the one who painted the bears. And the bear was maybe this, I don't know, let's see, that size. So then upstairs in my building, there was a New York guy who had a gallery, and he came downstairs and he said, Mitch, you know what this artist has? I said, no, what does he have? He said, he has wall power. I said, you mean he can paint big? He said, yes. Tell him to do Big Bear. So I made an 8-foot by 6-foot bear, came back, people loved it. So these artists you have wall power. You can paint big, but you keep the integrity of the style. So it's impressive what they can do, and it's just beginning now. And people like you are the ones who keep it going. I'm old now. I'm 81. I'm a kind of a fossil now. I've been around so long. We've been friends since 1970s. But my wife and I were gonna stay here the rest of my days, and I like working with the artists because I told my assistant Caroline, I said, when I'm in a wheelchair, you can still bring me the painting, and I can say good or not good or whatever. I can keep on working, and I don't.
And I think that's what keeps you young.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. But I have to. I'm trying to turn over to, mainly to you. I'm trying to turn over whatever method there is in my madness and the way I look at art and the way I encourage it and my knowledge. I'm trying to pass it on to you, and you have to keep the flag going, and you will, under the banyan tree.
Under the banyan.
Yeah, best tree in town. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
So much.